creatives, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hope you're doing well. So as you can see from the title of this video, this tutorial is on the dress that I wore for my birthday. Well, technically it is a cord set, but it looks like a dress, so we're just going to call it a dress. In this tutorial, I'm going to be showing you how I drafted the pattern for both the top and the skirt, and then in my next video I'm going to be showing you how I sew it. So yeah, I'm going to leave timestamps down below so that if you're looking for anything in particular, then you could just go check that out in the description box. So yeah, without further ado, let's just get right into the tutorial. Alright, so these are the following materials that you're going to need for this tutorial. First of all, with the fabrics, so you don't really have to use as many fabrics as I used, but if you want your dress to look exactly like that, then I would just suggest that you get all the kinds of fabrics that displaying here. So I've put it on the screen so that you can see it from a broad kind of view. So yeah, those are just the materials that you're going to need. Then also the tools. Okay, so these are the following tools that you're going to need in order to make this dress. And then for the measurements, these are the measurements that you're going to need. So you're going to need your vertical measurements as well as your horizontal measurements. So I have a tutorial on how to get all your measurements, so I'm just going to link it up there, but I also put the video on how to get each measurement as we're using it along in the tutorial. So just so that you can get a feel of what it looks like without having to go to the other video. So yeah, just get these measurements so that you can be rest assured that you have the measurements on ground before actually starting the tutorial. Alright, so now the first thing that I'm doing, as you can see, is that I'm just drawing a line. So it's 1 inch is at the top and also at like the side. So that is just indicating my center front, and that is also indicating my top, like the top of the pattern. So yeah, as you can see now, I'm just measuring from my shoulder to my bust, and I'm just going to measure it like that. And then after I measure it, then I'm going to go ahead to measure my bust to my waist. Okay, and then after that I'm just going to measure my waist to my hip, and those are my vertical measurements. Like, those are the basic vertical measurements, so you just want to measure them. And then after you measure that, then you're just going to measure it on the other side as well, so that you have a straight line, and you just make sure that your lines are straight. And then after that, you're going to measure your shoulder to your armhole. Okay, so you just want to measure your shoulder to your armhole, and of course you want to measure it at the other side as well, and then just draw a straight line. Then you label it. Okay, you want to make sure that you label all your lines. And then after that, the next thing is to draw out the neckline. Okay, so the first thing that you want to do, I wanted my neckline to be 4 inches wide, so you just measure 4 inches from the center front line, and then you just measure 4 inches downwards again from that point that you created, and then you measure 4 inches at the center front downwards again. And then after that, you just want to connect all of these lines together using your straight ruler. So you just want to draw a curve with your French curve. So you could do this using freehand, it depends on you, but if you have a French curve, I just suggest that you draw that so that you get like a kind of accurate curve rather than just trying to use your hand to do it. Alright, so the next step that you want to take is that you want to mark your horizontal measurements divided by 4. Okay, so on your armhole line, you're going to mark your bust measurements divided by 4. Just do that, don't add any seam allowance or ease yet. And then for your bust line, just want to measure your bust divided by 4, and then you mark it there. And then for your waist, divided by 4, and then you mark it there. So after that, the next thing you want to get is your armhole. So in order for you to get your armhole, you just want to measure your shoulder measurements divided by 2. So you just get your shoulder measurements and then you divide it by 2, and then you mark whatever measurement that you get. You mark it there on top of the pattern, on the line that we created for the top of the pattern. And then from that point, you want to go down 1 inch. Okay, let's go down 1 inch from that point. And then after you go down 1 inch from that point, you just want to connect that point that you went down 1 inch. You want to connect it to the neckline. Okay, to the outer part of the neckline, like so. So then after that, we want to get a straight line, right? So in order for us to get a straight line, you want to measure the same shoulder measurements divided by 2. Okay, you want to measure it on your armhole line, and once you measure it on your armhole line, then you just want to draw a straight line connecting those 2 points together, like so. Can you see? So that would give you a proper straight line. And then after you do that, then you just want to get the middle point of that line that you've created. Okay, so here, as you can see, I don't know why, but it did not measure up to 1 inch, so I just quickly went ahead to correct that, because you should go down 1 inch. It should be exactly 1 inch. So yeah, then the next thing you want to do is that you want to measure the line like I said before, and then you just want to get the midpoint of that, okay? And then after you get the midpoint, then you want to go inwards 0.35 inches. It depends on you, really. It depends on how big your bust is. If your bust is small, then I would suggest like 0.25 to 0.35. But if your bust is quite big, I would suggest 0.5 to 0.75. And then after you do that, then you just want to connect that points that you went inwards into the pattern. You want to connect it to the top of your shoulder like so. And then after you do that, then you just want to get a armhole curve, and then you just want to connect that point to the bust measurement that you measured on the armhole line. So from there, we're done with the armhole. So now it's time for us to start, working on the bust part. So as you can see from your bust line, you just want to mark your bust, your under bust measurements like so. So you mark it at the two sides of the pattern, and then you just connect those 2 points together that you marked as a straight line, and then you label the line as under bust. So then after you do that, then the next thing that you want to do is that you want to place the bra cup. Okay, so this is where the bra cup comes in, and then you just want to place the bra cup on the under bust line there as so as you can see, the bra cup was reaching that side. So from the point where the bra cup is reaching at the center front side, you just want to go inwards half an inch. And then after you've gotten that, then you just want to align the bra cup. Okay, so while you're aligning the bra cup, it depends on the projection of your body. So we have different bodies, right? And some of our breasts protrude while some of them don't really protrude, and we have wide breasts. So I have wide breasts, so I had to make it a thing that while I was making this line, like drawing this curve, I have to like press it, okay, because my bust is wide, my bust doesn't protrude. Do you understand? So in order for you to be able to get like a well fitted dress, you have to make sure that you really work with your body measurements and you work with how your body is. So I would suggest that if you have wide breasts that don't really protrude, then you should just press the bra cup a little bit downwards so that the bra cup doesn't really protrude. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, like that is just what I did. So after that, the next thing is the darts. So in order for you to get your darts, you just want to go to your center front, and then you want to mark your bust point to bust point divided by 2. And then after you mark that, then you just want to mark half an inch on one side and half an inch on the other side. Okay, so that will give you a full dart of 1 inch, a full measurement of 1 inch. So I missed the footage for completing the dart, so I'm just going to show you how I did it on the back panel. So as you can see, I just went to my bust line, and then I just measured my bust point to my bust point divided by 2. And then after that, I just went down from that point there 1 inch. So you just want to go down from that point 1 inch, and then after you go down from that point 1 inch, then that is where you just connect the dart to the points that you created like so, and that is that for your dart. So then after that, the next thing for you to do is that you want to get the middle point of that your bra cup, of the silhouette that you drew for your bra cup. You want to get the middle point, and then after you get the middle point of that silhouette, then after that you just want to go to your hip line, and then you just want to go to the center front of your hip line, and then you want to measure 1.5 inches inwards, as you can see. So then from there, we're just going to connect that 1.5 inches to the middle point of the bra cup silhouette that we measured just a while back, and then you just want to connect it like so and draw a straight line like so. And yeah, that is that for that. Then the next thing for us to do is that you just want to add your ease, your seam allowance. So you add half an inch seam allowance to your armhole line and half an inch allowance to your bust. But because of the waist, because of the dart that we created, that is 1 inch, like you just want to then add that 1 inch back to your waist measurement, and then you want to add seam allowance as well for your waist as well, so that is half an inch. Then when you get to your hip, then you just want to go to the center front again, and then you want to mark 2.5 inches this time from the center front on your hip line, and then you just want to connect that 2.5 inches all the way to your waistline, to the last points that you created for your waistline. You want to connect it like so, and then you're also going to connect the lines on your bust and on your armhole like so. So then in order for you to finish the darts, you just want to get your straight ruler, and then you just want to align your straight ruler with the line that is at the top half of the dart, and then you just want to draw a straight line. So wherever the ruler stops at that line, as you can see there, then you just want to draw a straight line. Then you want to connect the other sides of the darts to where the line stops at that Basque line. That's what they call it the Basque line. Okay, so you just want to get your bra cup and you just want to align it, with the silhouette that you already created, and then you want to make the curve at the top of the bra cup as well. You want to draw out and trace out the bra cup at the top as well. So then after you do that, you will notice that the center front where it stops, like where the sides of the bra cup stops, is different from the other side. Okay, so you want to mark the where the bra cup side stops at the center front, and then you want to make sure that it is the same with the other side of it. And then wherever it stops at the other side, then you just want to connect it to the side of the bra cup like so. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, then you're done with your pattern. It's just time for you to cut it out, and yeah, so you should have this is what your pattern should look like. So this is for the front panel. Okay, so this is what it should look like, and then yeah, so let us just get onto the back panel. Alright, so for the back panel, as you can see, my lines are already there, so I just have to extend them. But if you didn't draw your lines to be extended, then you just want to draw your shoulder to armhole, your shoulder to bust, then your bust to your waist. That is, the back panel is stopping at the waist. So as you can see, then after you do that, then you just want to draw the neckline for the back panel. Okay, so the neckline for the back panel is going to be 4 inches wide, but it's going to be 1 inch long. Okay, so from the center front, you just want to mark 4 inches, and then from that and then also for your shoulder, you just want to mark your shoulder to shoulder measurements, which is divided by 2. You just want to mark that. Then from your 4-inch mark for your neckline, you just want to go downwards 1 inch. Then you want to go downwards 1 inch at the center front as well. And then after you do that, then you just want to take your straight ruler, and then you just want to connect those lines, and then you get your French curve, and then you just draw the curve. So of course you could use your free hand to do this. You don't really need your French curve if you don't have it, but if you have it, make use of it. Okay, so yeah, that is the stuff for the neckline. And then from the points that you measured for your shoulder measurements, you want to go downwards the way we did for the front panel. You want to go downwards 1 inch, and then from that 1 inch you just want to connect it to the outer part of the neckline like we did for the front panel. And then after you do that, the next thing for you to do is to mark out your bust measurements divided by 4 on your armhole, then your bust measurements divided by 4 on your bust, and then your bust and then your waist measurements divided by 4 on your waist line. Then we want to create the darts at the back panel as well, so you just want to measure your bust point to bust point divided by 2, the way we did from the front panel, and then you just want to measure that same measurements on your bust line as well, and then you just want to go downwards 1 inch. And then from that bust points measurement that you just measured on your waist, you want to go to the left side 1/2 inch, to the right side 1/2 inch, and then from there you just want to connect that 1 inch mark that you went down from your bust line. Once connected to the 1/2 inch marks that you marked for your darts, as you can see there. Okay, so now as I said before, you want to add 1 inch on your waist measurements because of the darts. We're going to be taking it out, so you want to compensate for that, so you have to add 1 inch in your waist measurements, and then you add 1/2 inch for seam allowance, and then you add seam allowance of 1/2 inch on your bust line and on your armhole. And then after you've done that, then you just want to connect your armhole to your shoulder measurement that we went down, as you can see. So you don't really need to do that inwards thing that we did for the front panel, and this is just because our back panel has more width around our shoulder than the front of our body, so that is why it's different. So now in order for us to get the yoke for the back panel as well, you just want to get your front panel and you just want to align it and make sure that it's properly aligned. And then you would see that where the bottom part of the yoke for the front panel stops, that is where the yoke for the back panel should stop as well. Okay, that is just the way it's supposed to be. And then you just want to connect it on the front panels on the center front side as well. You just want to mark where the yoke stops at those points, and then you just want to draw a straight line connecting those lines that you got together so that you will be able to get your yoke for the back panel and for the front panel, okay, so that they will align properly. So after that, you just want to cut it out like so, the way I'm cutting it, and yeah, you're done with your pattern. So the next thing for you to do is to cut it out. So after you're done cutting the pattern pieces, it's time to cut it on the fabric, and you have to follow the exact way that I put it on the screen, because we're working with different fabrics. So in order for you to get exactly what I got, you just have to follow all these. So yeah, when you see that it's supposed to be cut on a fold, you have to make sure that it's right sides facing each other every single time you're cutting anything. Like here, even if it's like just two pieces, always make sure that the two pieces are with the right sides facing each other, and also make sure that you leave seam allowance all around the pattern. I'm going to show you exactly how I cut it just on time lapse, so that you can get a feel of how I cut it. And yeah, that is just that for that. So now that you're done with your top pattern, then we can get onto the skirt pattern. Okay, so as you can see, you want to ensure that the pattern that you're working with is more than half of your hip measurements, because that's your biggest measurement. Okay, then after you ensure that, then you want to measure the middle point. Okay, you want to get the middle point of this pattern, and that would serve as your center front. Okay, so you want to get the middle point of this pattern, and then after you do that, then you just want to measure it at the top, bottom, and the middle, so that you would have a straight line like we always do, and then you just label it center front. So after you do that, the next thing for you to do is to measure your dress length. So how long do you want your dress to be? So you could just measure yourself. It could be from your waist to your hip. It could be from your waist a little bit below your hip. It depends on how long or how short you want your skirt to be. So once you get the measurement, then you just want to measure it on all the sides of the pattern, like so that you would be able to get a straight line like we always do. And then after you mark those points, then you just want to draw a straight line connecting all of those points together. So now that you've done that, the next thing for you to do is to measure your waist to your hip measurements. So after you measure your waist to your hip measurements, you only want to measure this on one side of your pattern, okay? Because it's only one side you're going to need, because this is an asymmetric skirt. So it's only one side, and also at the center front as well. So as you can see, I'm just measuring it there. And then after that, the next thing for you to do is to draw a straight line indicating the hip line, as you can see there. And then after that, you want to go to your center front, and then you want to measure your waist measurements divided by 4, and then you want to add half an inch of seam allowance. So you just want to mark that, and then after that, you do the same thing for your hip measurements. You go to your hip line, divide your hip measurements divided by 4, and then you add half an inch of seam allowance. And then after you do that, then you go to your dress length. So what I just like to do with this is that I just like to take whatever measurement I got on my hip line, I just divide that by 2, and that just gives me what I should put on the dress length line. That is just what I like to do. It's not really like something that is certified or anything like that, but yeah, it just really works for me. And yeah, that is just that for that. So then after that, you just want to connect the lines together. So then after that, you just want to connect the left side to the right side by just going to the dress length line and just connecting it to the other side of the pattern like so. And then after you do that, then you just want to cut it out. Then after that, this is what your pattern should look like, and then you should just, you know, cut it out. So it's very important for you to ensure that while you're cutting out your pattern on your fabric piece, you want to cut out one, just cut out one panel. And then after you cut out one panel, you want to take that panel and then you want to put it right sides facing each other on the fabric. Okay, and this is very important because if you don't do this, then you're going to come out with, you know, a fabric that is not going to match. So you just want to make sure that, you know, you cut out the pattern on one panel, like on one layer of fabric, and then after that you take that pattern that you take out that layer that you've cut, and then you place it right sides facing each other on the fabric, and then you cut it out like so, like exactly the way I did. Okay, so when it comes to the back panel of the skirt, sadly I lost the footage again. It's been a while that I've done a sewing tutorial, so I'm kind of rusty, but don't worry, I'm coming back with full force. So yeah, the exact way that you did for the other side of the pattern, like you did. So I'm just, you know, I just put it like this so that, you know, you can just like get like a feel of what you're supposed to do. So it's the exact same way, the way we, you know, measured waist to hip, and then your the way we measured your dress length, then your waist to your hip, and then we just measured your waist divided by 4 plus seam allowance, your waist your hip divided by 4 plus seam allowance, and then, you know, whatever measurements you got on your hip, you just minus it by 2. Okay, so that is just that for that. You just want to ensure that, you know, while you're cutting this out and while you're, you know, drafting it on your fabric, you should make sure that your fabric is on a fold. Okay, so that when you open it up, it's going to like accommodate, you know, the whole of your back. Do you understand? The whole of your back panel. So yeah, you know, we're not going to be adding any zip allowance to this, because I'm not adding any zip because it's a stretchy fabric. But if you're working with, you know, a fabric that doesn't have stretch, then I would suggest that you add zip allowance. But yeah, that is just that for this tutorial. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope it was easy for you to follow. If you have any questions regarding anything with this tutorial, then you can just go leave a comment down below and I will reply you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching this video, and you know, if you like tutorials like this, I have other playlists on my catalog on my profile, so you can just go check that out. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.